On a brisk autumn evening, the fractures in my reality started to reveal themselves. My wife, Claire, claimed she was out with her friends, leaving me at home with a bottle of wine and an old movie to keep me company. We had shared 7 years of marriage, a span sufficient to understand each other's rhythms, habits, and subtle cues. That evening, an unusual feeling lingered in the air. Her voice on the phone rang with an unnatural brightness. Her laughter felt overly contrived. I dismissed it, telling myself to avoid overanalyzing. She strolled through the door just after midnight, laughing like a young girl returning home past curfew. Her cheeks glowed with a rosy hue, her hair tousled in a charmingly chaotic manner, and she bore the unmistakable fragrance of a cologne that wasn't her own. My stomach twisted in knots, yet I managed to put on a smile, pretending that everything was perfectly fine. Claire collapsed onto the couch, tossing her heels aside, and flashed me a carefree grin. "You're feeling quite cheerful," I remarked, placing my glass on the table. "Absolutely. It was an amazing night," she responded, her voice soaring with excitement, nearly bubbling over. "The girls and I truly enjoyed ourselves. Just a simple gathering, filled with good drinks and plenty of laughter." I inclined my head, observing her intently. It was wonderful to hear that. As the evening progressed, I observed her steering clear of my eyes, gripping her phone as if it were a vital source of comfort. Doubt lingered in the air, yet I remained silent. I wasn't one for confrontation, at least not at this point. I chose to pause and take in my surroundings. Ultimately, trust was the cornerstone of our union, or at least that was my conviction. The following morning, Claire radiated an unexpected cheerfulness, humming softly while she set about making breakfast. Her phone buzzed incessantly, yet she remained unmoved, ignoring the persistent notifications. As she exited the room, I found myself unable to hold back. With a racing heart, I reached for the phone and unlocked it. We were aware of each other's passcodes, a small gesture of trust that now seemed like a bitter irony. The communications were unequivocally harsh. "Last night was incredible, dive into it. Once more, your touch lingers in my memory." As I navigated through the cascade of messages from a contact labeled M, my vision began to blur. In a softly illuminated hotel room, there were also photographs captured. Claire, with a joyful laugh and a glass in hand, lounged across a man I didn't know. In a heartbeat, everything I knew fell apart. The treachery struck me like a sudden impact, leaving me gasping for air. I returned the phone to its original spot, striving to keep my composure. Fury would follow in due time. At this moment, I sought understanding, a strategy. Claire stepped back into the kitchen, unaware of what I had uncovered. She pressed her lips gently to my cheek and offered me a plate of eggs, her smile shining brightly as always. How was she able to do that? How could she act as if everything was all right after what she had done? In the days that followed, I transformed into a specter within my own abode, observing, eavesdropping, and assembling the fragments of her betrayal. The fleeting encounter, as I quickly discovered, was far from innocuous. This was not merely a singular event. Claire and M had been rendezvousing for months, capturing fleeting moments I believed were exclusively ours. The anger bubbled just below the surface, yet I chose not to face her. Not at this moment. I concentrated on collecting evidence, meticulously recording every detail. Words, images, and even the crumpled receipts she thoughtlessly discarded in her bag. As my plans started to crystallize, a feeling of dark contentment settled in. Outwardly, I appeared to be the same committed spouse. I prepared her beloved dishes, shared in her laughter, and organized a weekend escape for just the two of us. Claire appeared to breathe easier, as though my careful observation lifted a weight of guilt from her shoulders. Unbeknownst to her, I was meticulously crafting the path to her undoing. The weekend excursion was a true work of art. I reserved a charming cabin nestled in the mountains, tranquil and breathtaking. Claire was elated, overflowing with excitement about how desperately she craved the getaway. I meticulously packed our bags, making sure every detail was just right. The camera equipment, a new interest I had embraced, accompanied me as well. She accepted it without hesitation. The initial evening was enchanting, at least on the exterior. We sipped wine by the flickering flames, reflecting on our beginnings, and even twirled beneath the celestial canopy. Yet my thoughts wandered, fixated on the final outcome of my scheme. The following morning, I informed Claire of my desire to capture some photographs of the landscape and proposed that she enjoy a bit more rest. She consented, burrowing further into the blankets while I collected my equipment and made my way outside. I simply didn't capture any landscape shots. Instead, I arranged the cameras in our cabin, subtly framing shots that would convey the narrative I sought. As Claire stirred from her slumber, I proposed a hike, asserting that I had discovered a stunning location just around the corner. Initially, she felt uncertain, but in the end, she consented. We meandered through the trails for hours, and for a fleeting moment, the sting of betrayal nearly slipped from my mind. Nearly. Returning to the cabin, Claire's phone buzzed relentlessly. She cast a fleeting look at it, her demeanor transforming into one of irritation. She muttered about work, brushing aside the notifications. Yet I was aware of the truth. That evening, I crafted her favorite dinner, refilling her glass of wine each time it approached emptiness. She chuckled, light-hearted, oblivious to the tempest gathering. As she stepped away to the restroom, I seized her phone from the counter and composed a brief message to M. It's time to bring this to a close. Subsequently, I erased the thread, ensuring it left no remnants behind. When we finally made it home, Claire had reverted to her vibrant self, her laughter resonating throughout the house. Yet, as she extended her hand toward her purse, a sudden pallor washed over her face. She sifted through it, anxiety escalating with every fleeting moment. "Where is it?" she whispered, her voice quaking with uncertainty. "What seems to be the issue?" I inquired, pretending to care. "My wedding band. It has vanished," she murmured, her eyes brimming with tears. "Oh dear," I exclaimed, my tone laced with feigned compassion. "When did you last experience it?" She gazed at me, her face reflecting a blend of remorse and urgency. "I'm uncertain. I must have removed it at some point. I had concealed it naturally." The ring, once a testament to our bond, had transformed into an instrument of my vengeance. The following day, I set my scheme into action. I had crafted a document, carefully structured, outlining her affair with painstaking precision. Images, texts, and even the invoices. I placed it on the kitchen table, confident that she would discover it. As she realized it, her complexion went pale. "What is this?" she inquired, her voice scarcely above a whisper. I responded with the truth. "There's been a secret you've kept from me for months." She faltered, attempting to articulate to defend her position. However, I raised a hand, bringing her words to a halt. "Your excuses are not what I need, Claire. Please go away." Her eyes grew large, tears cascading down her face. "Let's collaborate on this together. I'm willing to do whatever it takes." "It's too late," I remarked, my tone icy. "You have made your decision, and now I am ready to make mine." I had already consulted with a lawyer, securing a quick and favorable divorce. The evidence I had collected was sufficient to ensure everything was in place. The residence, the vehicle, and the financial reserves. Claire was completely blindsided. As she packed her bags, tears streaming down her face, I felt an unsettling sense of indifference. She had shattered the foundation of our marriage, leaving our trust in ruins. This was retribution. In the weeks that followed, I forged ahead, reconstructing my existence, bit by bit. Claire, in contrast, faced challenges. M had vanished, leaving her to confront the aftermath by herself. Friends we had shared began to distance themselves, choosing to stand by me once the truth came to light. She had lost it all. One evening, while perched on the porch with a glass of whiskey in hand, I pondered the events of the past few months. The sting of betrayal lingered, a persistent throb in my heart. Yet there was also an undeniable feeling of victory.